Jaya Savannah here, Holistic Business Guru over at jayasavannah.com. And today I wanted to do a mini training on a really important business decision that most practitioners face. And that is choosing the right business model for you. Should you choose to be an employee or an independent contractor working for someone else? Should you go totally solo and open up your own space? Or do you want to become an owner and not only open up your own space, but have other people working for you? Well, it's a big decision, and it's one that you may, visit that decision, in the lifetime of your career, maybe a few different times as you progress and grow. But today I'm going to help you understand the pros and cons of your decision. What role is best? What are the ups and downs of each one? And maybe I can help you find the right fit for you. So first, a little bit of housekeeping here. If you're new to watching online video with me, this is how it works. This video right now is live, unless you're watching the replay. That's always a little confusing. But if you are here live, if you could hit the like button beneath this post or pop a little comment into the box, then I'll know that you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you see me? And also in the comment box, you can type in questions. And if the app is working well today, I'll be able to read your questions and answer you live. Okay, so, in my work as a strategy coach for holistic businesses, I get a lot of people that are trying to decide, what they want to do with their career. And here's what I have found is kind of the typical path people take, or they think they should take because it's so common. People start out going to school, they graduate from school, they get a job as an employee somewhere, they work there for a little while, then they want to go solo, and then they want to open up their own spa or wellness clinic, right? It's kind of that path of a ever-expanding business. And because the holistic industries are based on sort of an apprentice model where we start out learning from other people at the different businesses we work from, these growth patterns get replicated. And so it kind of becomes this expected path. But what I have found is that quite often the expected path doesn't mean it's the right path for you. All right, it doesn't mean that you're the right personality fit for that path. Bigger is definitely not always better. Okay, sometimes having a really small and easy to manage business is the right thing for you. So I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of the different models, and maybe that'll give you some insights into what might be a good fit for you. Okay, so let's start out with employees. Okay, so when you are an employee, and by that I do mean an actual legal employee who gets a W-2 form on your taxes, there are quite a lot of distinct advantages to being an employee. First of all, what you largely get a focus on when you're an employee is actually doing the work you were trained to do, the work that you were called to do with your clients. Right? So it's this great space. You really get to, focus on doing your treatments and, everything that has to do with customer service, certainly learning to get referrals to come in and retention and, teaching home care products and all that stuff. When you're an employee, you get this great space just to be a practitioner and do the actual work. You are relieved of, almost all the administrative type stuff. Really, as an employee, very rarely do you have to do anything above and beyond keeping client records. And usually that's about it, and keeping your station clean. And so if you're the kind of person who just really wants to shut the world out and be in your treatment room and focus on being a healer, a helper, an esthetician, whatever your field is, if you just want to focus on doing your work, an employee is kind of a great gig. It actually, can pay pretty well, especially if you have an employer who gives you a good compensation plan. And, a good employer is going to give you a space where you're compensated fairly, fair for them and fair for you too, and it'll give you some room to grow, right? Like a good compensation plan is usually going to include some retail commission. Maybe you bump up a tier in income as you get more clients, and you have good retention. Okay, so you have room to grow. I have done consults for people, including today, which is what made me think of it. I have done introductory consults for people that came to me as employees, and part of what they're deciding is, should they be a solo or, what should they be doing? And sometimes when I talk to them, I find out that their employer is awesome. If you've got an awesome employer who's paying you well and they're doing the marketing for you, and they're nice to work with, and they're providing all these great products. I mean, it's kind of a sweet ride in some ways. I've definitely had people where my best advice for them is stay where you are, like just do what you love. So if you really are all about being able to focus on your treatments and do that, being an employee might just be the ticket. Honestly, I think there's quite a few people have gone the route of being solos and employers, and some of them, they look at like the position their employees have and they wish they had that. It'd be so much easier. So there's definitely a lot to be said for that. I also want to say that another big perk of being an employee is your work-life balance is probably the most sane. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some kind of awful employers out there who will break independent contractor law or break employee laws, have you being on call. There's a lot of shady stuff in our industry. We're trying to clean that up. So sometimes the work-life balance can be off. But when it's done legally and correctly, you can have, a weekend off, or at least 2 different days off if you've got kids and, they have a school schedule and you need to have a consistent schedule. Again, being an employee can really work with you having having a work-life balance. Okay, so that's some of the pros of being an employee. Now, some of the cons of being an employee, really, it just comes down to your pay scale and your employer. If you really can't get along with your employer and it's really truly them, then you got to decide, is it the job role of being an employee that's a bad fit for you, or is it just the place you work? So you're gonna have to decide there. Now, when you are an employee, you don't get to make a lot of the big important decisions. So if you want to, be able to choose the product lines your business sells, you want to have a lot of input, you want to, try out those things, you may not have the freedom to do that. So it may feel a little bit cramped for some of you, right, who want to test your wings and kind of go to that next level. Okay, so the next business model I'm going to discuss with you is being a solo. And even in the realm of solo, there's lots of different kind of levels with that. Everything from being someone who rents a room, like say if you're an esthetician, a lot of my clients are, if you rent a room in the back of someone else's salon, that is one level that is in some ways a lot easier. Or you could have a standalone studio or a standalone studio inside your home. There's lots of different ways to do that. So with being a solo, the major upsides there is that you really get to take your creativity and use it to create the ultimate experience that you want for your clients, right? You get to set your own protocols. You get to really specialize and niche your business exactly the way you want to, right? You get to have as much freedom as you want to create very standardized protocols. Maybe you have that kind of approach, or maybe your approach is very custom, where you just do custom work on each person and you want that freedom. Like you don't, employees typically have to follow a script, right? So when you're solo, you get to choose. You get to make it your own thing. And then, if you like the creativity that's involved with branding and creating your niche and logos and websites and making your mark on this world, well, if that stuff calls you, that entrepreneurial part calls you, then a solo is where you're going to really have the most fun, right? There's nothing like having your own business and watching it succeed over time and creating something to be really proud of. I think solo is a great thing for a lot of people. Now, the downsides of being a solo are that you have just a huge learning curve, because not only do you have to have all the stuff down with your clients and all your protocols and know how to do that work as a practitioner, but you have to do all the stuff that is not so fun. You got to learn how to do your taxes and how to do your inventory and how to keep your costs in control. And yes, you got to learn stuff like budgeting and bookkeeping. And, quite honestly, for most of us, that's not the part that's exciting. It's like the necessary evil. And so you have to have enough desire in you to succeed that you're willing to do some of the crap that you don't want to do. And if you really only just want to be in the treatment room, being a solo is not for you, because you have so many other responsibilities, and also work-life balance can be an issue. Okay, so third option is, to be an owner. And so to be an owner at that point, again, there's a couple levels there. You can, open up your own spa or wellness clinic and have employees working for you, right? From even a couple to a larger staff. Or, maybe you start out kind of small, like maybe you're someone who's a solo, and the next step for you to expand is to get a place that has 2 or 3 treatment rooms. Maybe even just start out by renting some of those. Sometimes that's the way to go, where you kind of ease into it. You're not doing, full staff yet. The people that are the best fit for being owners are people that are really, truly driven by wanting to be leaders. I find actually the best owners they like to do their clients, but that's not their primary motivation. They are more like natural coaches who really thrive on taking their team and developing their team into being experts in their own right. Okay, so if you've got if you're a natural coach and you like structure, and you're someone who, like, maybe you started as a solo, but it might be time for you to bump up. You're someone who really likes the business analytics and crunching those numbers and doing your business plan, and maybe even looking at multiple locations, creating something that could be franchised or licensed, right? You have those bigger visions and the skills that go with it. Maybe being an owner is the best bet for you. So I'm going to tell you a couple stories that are experiences I have with some of my clients and people I've worked with a little bit. I have definitely found that, like I said in the beginning of this call, people sometimes think that bigger is better, and they're supposed to go up this trajectory of expansion. And like I said, it's not always right for people. Like I said, today I talked with someone who had a pretty great employee gig, and really the way to position her expertise then is not to open up a different studio, but to highlight herself as different and unique and having a niche within that existing business. You can absolutely do that as being an employee. But another story I have, which I think was a great success story in the end, was one of my clients that, she started working with me a long time ago. I want to say it was 2006, I remember. And she came to me as an owner, and she was unhappy as an owner. She had, I think our staff was about 3 people that were working for her. She had a spa, and it was kind of the, typical thing. She'd expanded up thinking she should have the spa, and it was beautiful. And she got to have the prestige of, being this spa owner. And, she was really good at creating a nice environment and all of that stuff. That's really fun to do that part. But the fact was, she was not happy managing employees. You have to have you have to take pleasure in managing employees to be able to do it, because there's a lot of hard stuff that comes with it. And I know I was in management, and I am a natural coach, and I sort of like it, and even the problem parts I kind of like, because I like to solve problems. But my client, she didn't. She was sick of it. She was at the point, I remember when I met her, and just the noise of everybody walking down the hallway, like someone with loud shoes, one of her staffs, it was driving her up a wall. And I remember talking with her and saying, there's other ways to make your business successful. And I started a conversation with her about changing her to being a solo, and that's exactly what we did. We went and we closed the doors on her spa, and it was a little bit of a big change for her, to let go of this prestige of this, being the spa owner, but we shut that thing down, and we made her this beautiful, it was like a step up in some ways, like a beautiful boutique, small sized, high-end aesthetics practice. And she didn't have to manage those employees anymore. And she was so much happier once we got her on the other side of that transition. Actually, I've done several of those. I'm almost the black widow of spa, and then I've downsized a few people. Had another employee, same thing. She had another spa owner. She had a big team, and they were fairly successful financially. But again, same thing. It was just draining, and same thing. We actually shut her spa down. She did a build out in her garage. Her home was in a area that was zoned where she could do this, and it looked nice, where she could have separate entrance, and she created a little studio in her garage space. And we shut it down, got rid of all the headache. And at that point, after being an owner, both of these ladies already had the skills of running that bigger business, so they know how to run their business, but they got rid of the employees and were able to focus a lot more on doing treatments, and that was really the best thing they could have done. I'll tell you one other last story. I always remember this one too. I had an introductory consult I did. This is also an esthetician, and she was a solo esthetician when she came to me, and she wanted to do an introductory consult with me because she was thinking of expanding into being an owner. And you know, talking to her though about her life, I think some people might have just, you know, gone straight into the blueprinting of how to build this spa, right? She certainly had the skill set and the potential and the desire to do that. But I felt that it was more important to, again, talk about her life goals and her personality type to see if this would be a right fit for her. And I remember asking her, you know, what are your plans for your family? Like, are you someone that wants to have kids? Are you wanting to create that? At the time she was single. And as it turned out, by asking her some questions about her lifestyle needs, what I found out was that at the time she had a horse. And horse riding was like one of her passions. She didn't feel alive or happy without lots of time riding her horse. And add to that, she also wanted to have kids within the next 3 to 5 years. And you know, upon hearing that, there was just no way that opening up a spa would be in her best interest. And I was kind of kidding her. I told her, I said, I forbid you from opening a spa. Can't do it. No, not going to let you do it. You'll be absolutely miserable. And she took my advice, and she did hire me. So, and what we did instead was we made her like the perfect solo practice. We expanded her a little bit so that at the time she was renting a room. We expanded her into her own space, and it had 2 treatment rooms. And man, she got a great deal from her landlord. Her new landlord. What she ended up doing was renting out that second room, and she was able to rent out that second room for a really good price. So it covered a lot of her overhead. So she kind of had this bigger space that she was envisioning for herself as being an owner. It was kind of like that step up as far as the prestige go, but she was still solo, and she just rented out that space to people who were easy to deal with. And she also got really lucky, having some really low maintenance renters for the most part, very few hiccups with that. And that was the perfect fit for her. And I have since heard that she now has 3 kids, and I assume she still has a horse. So I know that was the right decision for her. So, you know, there's all these stories. Again, there's no right way. There's about knowing what's right for you. So it comes down to your goals, what kind of lifestyle you want, and your personality type. And I have made a really fun quiz. It's just one of those, you know, kind of online quizzes. It's really just for fun. But I wrote the quiz myself, and I scored the answers myself, and it will help you decide if you should be a solo, an employee, or an owner. And I put the link for that quiz underneath this video. You can take that. And if you think you might be wanting to change the business model you're in, and you want to have a conversation about that because you think maybe that change is in order for you, and I'd be willing to talk with you about that. There's a link below this video where you can schedule an introductory consult with me, and I will tell you what I think is the best business model for you, and if it's a good fit for us to work together, I'll actually help you implement that. All right, well, that's my training. If you have any questions about this, you're also welcome to pop those down below this video, and I'll be checking answers later on today. And so I hope to see you in the comment section. Okay, everybody, bye.